So girls, please quickly tell me, how did you classify them? What were the classes? There were 8 classes first. At least some of them, what you remember, tell me.
Domain.
Domain and domain.
Domain. What else?
Yeah. Animalia.
That comes under something else. Okay. Domain is divided into 3 groups. What are the 3 groups?
Oh, Eukarya,
Hmm.
and Eukarya and
Protista.
Protista and what? And
Eukarya, Protista, and yes, yes, Vatin. They are divided into 3 groups. What are the 3 groups? Eukarya, Protista, and
Eukarya, Protista, and Animalia.
no. Eukarya has 3, that 4. Animalia, Plantae.
Yeah.
Look,
Fungi and plantae.
yeah, look at the, listen to me, look at the, what do you call as your book if you want. See, domain has 3. One was eukarya, the other is bacteria, remember? Bacteria, eukarya, and protista. This one was bacteria. See here, domain bacteria. Then next is archaea, and then is eukarya. In eukarya, you have 4. In eukarya, you have 4, that is protista, fungi, plantae, animalia. Seagulls, again, we have domain archaea, domain bacteria, domain eukarya. Now, domain eukarya have 4 kingdoms. Can you see the highlighted one here? Protista, or called as protist. We have fungi, we have plantae, and we have animalia. You know that plants make food through photosynthesis. They are found on land that light can pass through, and they cannot move by themselves. Some plants, they reproduce sexually when pollens from one fertilizes another. When I was teaching you sexual and asexual reproduction, I taught you how the pollens come and they go into the plant by itself and it fertilizes. And sometimes the buds, I said the small spores, they fall on the ground and then they reproduce asexually. You remember that?
Yeah, miss.
Okay. Now, members of the kingdom fungi are single-celled multicellular organisms such as yeast. Where do your mom used yeast? Can you say me?
In the kitchen.
What?
To make what? Your favorite?
To make bread.
To make food.
To make bread, to make pizza, okay? Because she wants the bread. So that's it, is a kind of fungi.
Miss, can I go to the bathroom?
Sure, Malak. You have molds, you have mushrooms. So how do the fungi get energy? They don't make their own food. They absorb materials and have cells with cell walls, but no chloroplast. They don't have chloroplast. They have some juices in their, I cannot say body, in their organs that break down materials for food. They reproduce asexually or sexually, depending upon the time. Coming to protista. Vatim, please, can you read this out?
Yeah, miss. Miss, which one? The first one, class.
Yeah, all of
classification?
all of that. What are the?
Okay. Identify why and how scientists classify living.
One minute. Yeah.
What are the 4 kingdoms in eukarya? Members of the kingdom Protista, called protists, are single-celled or simple multicellular organisms such as algae, protozoan, and slime molds. Protists are very diverse with plant-like animals.
You know, girls,
diverse.
You see a protist, maybe you will say, no, this is not a protist, this is a plant. It looks like plant, some of the protists. You remember last year when you had this lesson, you all made, you took print and you put, and you did an activity, you pasted on your notebook. You remember about these?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you did it well. I remember, Vati, in your book. So protists look like plant. Sometimes they look like animals. Sometimes fungus-like structures. Some of them they produce sexually. Some of them they produce asexually. Some protists, autotrophs, they can make their own food, and some heterotrophs that make that eat other organisms. Girls, again, domain, open 3 fingers. When I say domain, open 3 fingers. Start with bacteria, eukarya or archaeeukarya. Then for eukarya, open 4 fingers. You have protist, fungi, and then you have plantae, and you have animalia. For protists, say they look like animals and sometimes like plants. They produce sexually, asexually. Some are autotrophs and some are heterotrophs. Only 3 lines, girls. That's it. For protista, they are diverse, like plant-like, animal-like. They produce sexually, they reproduce asexually. Some protist, autotrophs, make own food. Other protists, heterotrophs, eat other organisms for food. This was about protist. I hope this is clear. Next, we have fungi. Fill fungi first. They can be single cell, they can be multi-cell. Examples, yeast, mold, mushroom. Now, fungi, they don't make their own food. They absorb materials. They have digestive juices that break down materials. Again, like protista, they produce asexually,
Miss,
sexually. Tell me.
isn't mushrooms fungi?
Yes, it is a fungi. It doesn't make own food. It depends upon, but it's not like plant. Plants make own food, right? But these mushrooms, and they try to feed on something to make on their own food. They break wherever mushroom is grown. They try to break the material and they take, their energy from it. Okay.
Okay, Miss.
Plantae. Kingdom Plantae. I don't have to say about plants. You know a lot. You know plants are multicellular. They come under eukaryotes. They have cell wall. They have chloroplast. They are found on land and in water that light can pass through and cannot move by themselves. Girls, there was a question. When light cannot pass inside the beaches, the ground of the ocean, how do they make their own food? Using chemicals. The answer is they use chemicals. Some plants reproduce sexually when pollen from one plant fertilizes another. I have shown you how the pollens, they come and drop the pollen, and sometimes the spores, they fall. You remember when I was teaching you about spores and about mosses?
Yeah.
Cycle of mosses. Okay. So millions of organisms are not named. New organisms do not always fit into the existing classification system. They continue to change as scientists learn more about living things. Girls, once again, we don't have much in this lesson. Maybe by tomorrow I will finish this lesson. But still, I will start with science revision next week, or we'll do one more lesson and then we will continue with the revision. Okay, once again, let me go with the last line, last pages. So you know about fungi, you know about protista, you know about plantae, coming to animalia. Can you read it out, Malak?
Yeah.
Girls,
what are the 4 kingdoms and...
Yeah. I will just take more 2 minutes, okay? Continue.
What are the 4 kingdoms and eukarya? Kingdom Animalia contains multicellular organisms such as birds, fish, reptiles, insects, amphibians, and mammals that lack cell walls. Animalia are typical, able to move around.
When
Typically.
you say Animalia, you have to say kingdom Animalia, or else you will just say animals. Animals are typically able to move.
Kingdom Animalia are typically able to move around and have specialized sense organs. Specialized sense organs. They get nutrients by eating other organisms. Most animals reproduce sexually, but a few types of animals reproduce asexually.
Such as by budding. Girls, when I say budding, do you remember vegetative budding? I show a potato to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is like budding. That is called as asexually. I can give you an example also. Fishes, some of the fishes, they don't produce sexually. They produce asexual. Now, next page here. Let me read it. Millions of organisms are, okay, we have done this. Scientists often use a type of branching diagram called a cladogram. Do you see this diagram, girls? It is called as cladograms. They are grouped according to the common characteristic listed on a line. Organisms on branches above a particular characteristic have the characteristic. Organisms on branches below the characteristic do not. See, all these above the characteristic have same and below the characteristic do not. Organism on branches above a particular characteristic have the characteristic. Like example, mosses, they spores and gametes. Ferns, specialized tissues, conifers, understood? They gave a diagram to study about them. A class by themselves. As scientists find more living things to study, they find that they may not have made enough classification, or that their classification may not describe organism well enough. Some organisms are difficult to classify because they have different traits, especially the main hybridized one, the hybrid ones. Okay, I just have 2 pages left. Tomorrow we'll finish the lesson and I'll show you the video, guys. Okay?
Miss, are you going to put this is our lesson today?
Yes. Girls, listen to me very carefully. This is the last lesson of grade 6 term 1. Like, I have finished my syllabus, alhamdulillah, and